Hello, and thank you for purchasing the Demon King's Longsword from Solo Leveling. We just want to go ahead and thank the creator of this. Don't forget to check out CYO. There's a little barcode right there for you. So now we can go ahead and get started. Let's have a look inside this box just to see what we have going on here. I've gone ahead and removed the packaging for you already so we can actually look at each of these components. So put that off to the side, and then let's go ahead and look at the first thing. So we have what looks like a little batarang over here. This is going to be the handle base. Then we have one of the top sword pieces right here. Then moving on, we have the longest and largest piece, which is more of the sword base. And then right here, we have the sword handle. And next we have these little side pieces. You should have two of them. They should be mirrors of each other. And then of course you have the top version of these, also mirrored, and you should also have two of them. Moving on, you'll have this small kind of centerpiece right here. It looks very interesting. And then these two little centerpieces right here, very small, make sure you don't lose those. And then, of course, last but not least, you have the included glue. You should have about two of these packaged with you. So with all of these components, we can go ahead and get started. So we can just separate out these three pieces. You have the handle, the base, and then the largest and longest piece of the sword. Then we can go ahead and grab our glue. Just need one for right now. To prime this glue, what you're going to want to do is take off the cap, then take off this little washer piece right here, and then you just put the cap back on, and then your glue should be primed. It can be a little hard to twist these on just to break that little piece of foil there, but it is entirely necessary. So go ahead and, as your glue is ready, put that off to the side, and we're gonna have a look at this handle piece. And I just wanted to show you exactly what happens here, do a little dry run so that when you actually have your glue on your part, you can see how it works. This bottom piece just slots into the top piece just like that. And then the handle is going to be slid through the entire base. Then all that is going to have glue on it, just to make sure that they stick correctly. So we can grab this piece. This is where we're going to put the glue, just on those flat faces. You really don't have to put any of the glue on the smaller pieces. It's more of just these flat faces right here. And you want to be generous, but not too generous with the glue here, because when you're putting this glue on, you're going to want a very thin layer of it. So you put a few globs down on this side, and then a few globs down on this side. Again, not too much, not too little, just to make sure that it covers the entire base. And then after that, you're going to take your little nose right here and just flatten that out. You really want to make sure that this layer of glue is really flat, and it covers, the full surface area of this piece. So right there and right there. Like I said before, you don't really need to worry about those smaller inner geometries. And then, see, I have a little glob right here, so I'm just going to flatten that out. You want to make sure that there are no big prominent globs. You want to make sure it's a very smooth layer, and you can do that with the nozzle of the glue. So then we can just go ahead and align those geometries and then just push down, and they should slide in perfectly together. You can do a little push on the top just to make sure that you're having full contact, and then it should be flat here on the other side. Just making sure that all those faces are aligned. You can do a little tap just to make sure. And then you want to make sure that you leave this to dry for about 30 minutes, and then we can come back and keep going. Okay, now that it's been about 30 minutes, we can go ahead and attach this handle. The handle is very simple to do as long as you're a little bit confident with the movement. So all we have to do here is grab our glue, and we can take off the cap here. And what we're gonna want to do is align the inner parts of the slot here with a little bit of glue just right at the entrance point right here. You don't have to do a lot, and you don't have to do a lot of smoothing out. You can just leave some globs on all four faces. And then before the glue dries, just grab this handle and slot it all the way in. You want to make sure that those faces touch, and you want to make sure that there's a pretty seamless look right here. You don't want to not go deep enough, but you do want to have a little bit of confidence. So now that that's done, we can leave that for another few minutes just to let the glue dry. Okay, now that the glue has thoroughly dried, we can go ahead and grab this top piece right here. And then one of the things that you want to look out for is making sure that it's properly aligned. So right here, that's improperly aligned. So we have to flip it around and make sure that that curvature really lines up with itself. See right there, that's perfectly aligned. You can almost see no seam. So when we do the gluing, we want to make sure that we have that aligned correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my glue here. And what I'm going to want to do is put a pretty generous amount of glue here. As you can see, there is a little bit of odd geometry in there, and that's mostly to make sure that the top and bottom piece align correctly and have a strong bond. So you can use almost all of the glue, maybe not all of it, but a pretty generous amount of glue you're going to want to put down on the inside of there. So after I have the glue that I like, I can grab this piece and then making sure that the geometry aligns, just put those together and push. And then right here off screen, I'm just going to want to prop this sword up and then really make sure that it looks aligned. If you have maybe a wall or something that you can lean up the sword against for a few minutes to let that glue dry, that's ideal. So as we let that glue dry, we can go ahead and grab these two little side support pieces. So we have two of each of these. Each of them will be the top and the bottom. And one of the tricky things is identifying which go with which. So I can go here and then just make sure that I'm aligning these curved faces together. So these two go together just like that, and all you have to do is push down. They should mesh together pretty well. And then you can grab this side and then mesh them together really well. And then if you want to pause the screen, you can actually have a look at how these look together and just make sure and confirm that yours are like that. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put a little extra pressure on them to make sure that they're solidly together, and then we can go ahead and put these to the side for now. All right, these are just the last few steps, and then the sword will be complete. Firstly, what I'm doing right here is grabbing this second glue and then priming it to make sure that it is ready to use. The goal of this right now is to make sure that we grab the correct inner piece right here, and you can tell that that's the right one because it aligns correctly with the side that we're working with. Then we can take that off right now, and then all we're gonna do is put a thin bead of glue down through the, I guess, canyon of the sword here. Almost like you're doing a bad job of drawing in the lines with this glue. You're just gonna want to put a little bit everywhere. I like to do a little bit extra at the bottom because that part's a little bit more important that it sticks. And then just go through the entire thing. After you grab your center piece, you're just gonna want to put that in. I like to start at the top and kind of work my way down. If it does get a little stuck there, you can go ahead and jiggle it a little bit to make sure that it properly sits in that little canyon that we just glued up. So then you can go up and down a few times, and after you're happy with the job that you've done, you can go ahead and let it dry, and then we can go to the next side and do the exact same thing. Nice, so the sword is coming along awesome. All we have to do is flip it over to this other side and then do the exact same thing that we were doing before. Just a little bit of glue right down that inner canyon. It doesn't have to be perfect, just make sure that there's enough glue to go along the entire length, just like this. And then once you're satisfied, all you have to do is grab this black piece and then, just like before, make sure that everything's aligned and then push it in. Then you just gonna want to go ahead and push down a few different times on the entire length of it to make sure that it's engaged correctly. And then after that, all you have to do is let it dry. All right, now that everything is dry, we can go ahead and put these last few pieces in. It's just these center pieces that are really easy to do. All you need to do is use the remaining bit of your glue to put in a bead across the internal part of the sword right here. And like before, just make sure that everything is smooth just to make sure that you don't have any globs coming out of the other side when you push this in. So just like that, you just put the glue and then make sure that it's aligned correctly, and then just push it in. Just like that. All right, and then after it's a nice smooth face right there, you can go ahead and do the exact same thing with the second largest piece right here. Just a little bead along the inside wall, making sure you flat anything out that's overly poking out. Make sure that it's aligned correctly, and then you just push it in just like a button. Sometimes it might fight you a little bit, but as long as it's aligned correctly, it should be good. Then do the exact same thing with the last bit of your glue on this last little piece right here. A little bit on every wall, and then you can just as easily align it and push it in just like a button. Perfect. Then all you need to do is let it dry. As soon as the glue has dried, you can go ahead and admire your handiwork, and then this thing is ready to take out. You can bring it to cons, you can have it on display, but in any sense, the Demon King's Longsword is one of my favorite pieces, and this thing is awesome. So if you want to check out anything else created by CYO, you can go ahead and follow this QR code that'll lead to our Etsy page. Thank you so much for purchasing the Demon King's Longsword, and we hope you enjoy leveling up.